Hi everyone. I am coming live to you today from my cell phone because our internet is experiencing some outages. At least it has been for the past couple days. My name is Amanda Pratt, licensed clinical social worker and certified professional life coach with Imagine Life Therapy, and I'm a therapist who specializes in supporting people with chronic illness. And I do so because I also have multiple chronic illnesses. So today, for the topic of my Facebook Live, I want to share my chronic illness story so far and my wellness story, how I've kind of learned to manage it and how I've coped with it over the years. It hasn't always been easy, but being in class, they say that when something comes up that's kind of traumatic for you, it like sticks in your memory and you never 30 minutes. That kind of freaked me out a little bit. So I don't know if I lost connection or if I'm just cutting back in, but basically, let me kind of go back. I was just talking about how my pain started when I was my second semester in grad school, and I was sitting in class, and all of a sudden I started getting this pain in my shin. It went away after a few minutes. Then the next day I had a pain in my arm that lasted a little longer, and then another pain came up, lasted a little longer, and so I finally went to the doctor and was telling him about this. And thankfully I had a really great doctor at the University of Michigan Health Center, and he was very aggressive with just jumping right into wanting to get some tests done. And I think he had me do a few rounds of testing, and by the time I got the last result, it had been about a month. So, I had come and gone multiple times, and by the end of that month, at that point, the pain was everywhere, and I was fatigued. I could barely make it to class. I was having severe brain fog, and I remember sitting in class one day, and the teacher was giving the class instruction, and I just kept saying, I don't understand what she's saying. Can someone explain it to me? I just don't understand. And I couldn't comprehend what the teacher was saying to me, and I was like, this is really freaky. So my doctor had run a bunch of panels. I tested positive for ANA, tested positive for the double-stranded DNA antibodies, which are both a sign of lupus. And so he kind of talked to me a little bit about lupus, and he was like, I'm not really sure if I should make this diagnosis or not, but I want you to be aware of it. And he diagnosed me with fibromyalgia so that he could start treating me and giving me some medicine. Later on, I was also diagnosed with hypothyroidism, and so I didn't get the official lupus diagnosis there, but he made me aware of it. When I moved to Florida, a couple years later, somehow I managed to get through grad school, right? But when I moved to Florida, I found a rheumatologist here, and she said that she felt I had an overlap of lupus and RA. So I was presenting some symptoms of both, but my blood work wasn't entirely clear for both, but showed some signs. And so she started treating me for both, because you can use medication for RA and lupus and kind of go back and forth, and sometimes it helps for one and others help for the other. And then during that same year, I had my first surgery for endometriosis, where I officially got diagnosed with that. I had a laparoscopy, and they found, some lesions, and removed them and officially diagnosed me with that as well. So I have all of those things, and they all play off of each other, I find. And so I kind of was in denial about it the first couple of years. I tried, after I'd graduated from University of Michigan, I had my first, I would say, real full-time career-based job at the school, as a school social worker for the county school system here. And I didn't tell them what was going on at the beginning, because I was in denial about it. I didn't think anything would be wrong, and I thought I can just still keep doing the same things I'm doing. And of course, that did not work out. I eventually had to tell them, because I was really struggling to get through the day. And, we went through a few accommodation plans, and it didn't really work out, because I found a lot of people still didn't understand how to work with me with my limitations, and how to accept some of the accommodations that I needed. And so eventually I made the decision that that wasn't the right environment for me. The stress of not only the work I was doing, but also the work environment, that pressure of either disclosing or not disclosing, and how people were going to react to it was just too much. And so I left my job, and my symptoms improved immediately. So I knew that stress management, I was like, wow, this stress relief was such a huge factor in helping improve some of my symptoms. Let me see how I can go on with the stress management thing. And so I really started diving deep into that. And that was about 3 years ago. And I've really just created this rituals for myself, routines, environment, self-care practices to take care of myself, that's really helped me get to a point where I'm able to work, but I'm still not putting myself under near the amount of stress that I was under, and I'm able to be flexible with my needs so that I can make sure that, if I'm flaring, I'm able to rest. If I need to go to the doctor, I can do that and be flexible, and I create my own schedule. I don't have to ask permission to take a day off. I don't have to explain to someone why I've been sick, 10 more days in a year than they wanted me to. It's just the typical work environment just doesn't fit for people with chronic illness. And so I found that creating my own environment really helped me manage mine better. So that's kind of sums up my chronic illness story. I think in the beginning it was the most distressing for me, because I didn't have any frame of reference for this. For the most part, I never really had health insurance. I never really went to the doctor because I didn't have health insurance. So to me, it was like, if something comes up, you take something and it'll go away eventually. I never really had any frame of reference for chronic illness that comes and never goes away. And so, when they told me about all this stuff, I was just like, no, that can't be it. I'm sure it's fine, And so I just kept doing the same things I was doing. I tried, working out 3 times a week, completely changed my diet. I was a smoker at the time. I quit smoking immediately. I mean, I changed everything I could, and the flares kept coming, So I was like, this isn't something that I can control all the time. I'm just going to have to learn to integrate it, to let it kind of be a part of my life, but not fight it. And I think having that relationship where I'm not constantly at a battle with my body, we're just living in this harmonious relationship where if it needs something, I give it to my body and my mind, and take a break if I need to. And if my body's having a good day, I'm going to go do some things that I like to do and take advantage of that and be grateful for that. that's really helped me, I think. It's definitely a huge adjustment, and I know it is for a lot of the clients I work with as well, and I see that. And this is one of the reasons I recommend this. Where is the book? I have this book I recommend. If any of this sounds familiar to you, or you might be in the beginning stages of it, or really anywhere you're at, I always recommend this book called The Chronic Illness Workbook by Patricia Fennell. She is also a licensed clinical social worker in MSW, which is the same training I have. And she basically goes through in this workbook the different stages we go through when we have a chronic illness. And I find it to not only be validating, but she really dives deep into a lot of the cultural impacts, our beliefs about chronic illness and chronic pain in our culture have on us. And one of the things that makes social workers different is that we look at the entire person. I mean, when we have a client come in, we get a complete biopsychosocial history, meaning what's the biology, what's the psychology here, what's the social context of all the stuff they're going through, barriers, strengths, weaknesses, all of this stuff. And that all plays into our understanding of each individual. And so she really brings that into this book and how we can understand our journey with chronic illness. And she also gives some worksheets and ways that you can track things. So here's one exercise where she has you write down things that are authentically you, and it helps you recognize things that you might do when you're tired, things that you might do when you're full of energy, and why certain activities are important to you, so that you can kind of build this toolbox with this book. And even though I've been doing this for about 6 years now and managing my own illnesses for 6 years, I still constantly go back to this book, and I always recommend it to people. So I'm gonna put a link to this. I am not sponsored or an affiliate in any way. I just like to recommend it because I found it helpful for me. But I'll put a link to this in the comments. And then the other thing I'll put a link to is the stress quiz that I made recently. It is based off what we call the perceived stress scale, and so it really is something that can help you determine whether you're under moderate stress, low stress, high stress. And usually what I recommend is that if you have moderate or high stress in your life, that stress management can really help you the same way that it helped me. And I have the Stress Less course that's open for enrollment right now for another week or so. And so if you think that if you take the quiz and it seems like something that's a good fit for you, go ahead and check it out. If you're not sure about it and you want an outline of all the lessons that are in the course, I'm happy to send that to you as well so that you can feel comfortable with that. So I'll put a link to the stress quiz in the description and the comments for this video also. So I know I had some internet and connection difficulties at the beginning, and hopefully you got all of this. If you identify with anything in this story, feel free to comment below and share that with me. But I think that the more we're all transparent about these things and share our stories, it's something that'll help us advocate for ourselves and our community, and it helps other people get a better sense of what this experience is like if they don't understand it. So feel free to share this. Again, I'm Amanda Pratt, licensed clinical social worker and certified professional life coach with Imagine Life Therapy, and I am a chronic illness therapist. So I am going to go ahead and get off here. I'm having some brain fog and some thought difficulties right now. But I'm going to do another Facebook Live on Monday. And Monday, let me look at my topics here. Monday, I'm going to talk about work-life balance, what that looks like for me, and maybe some tips for how you can achieve some work-life balance as well if you also work and have a chronic illness. So I will see you all on Monday, and have a great weekend. Bye, guys.